Hello everyone, and we are back for the final top 10 list of 2025, and it is gonna be my top 10 must-have secondaries in Warframe. The secondaries are very diverse. We have a lot of them are incredibly good for many different things. Which things? Which weapons? Well, let's get into the list and quickly find out. There are a lot of secondaries in the game, and of course the list always grows bigger, so that means we have many switch-ups in this year's list, so you are gonna be surprised by some of the weapons. A couple of things I do want to preface before starting the video: number 10 is not worse than number 1, and if your weapon is not on the list, leave it in the comment section down below. You're probably gonna do it anyway, so might as well. And whilst you're down there, scroll a little bit up, click that subscribe bell icon. It is gonna be very much appreciated by me. Click that like as well, and now we can go back to the top 10 must-have weapons. Must-have in my opinion. These weapons are going to be utilized with Revenant as always, because Revenant doesn't buff my secondary in any sort of way. So if you're going to use any other Warframe that can at least a little bit buff these weapons, you are going to be set, done, and dusted. Other than all of that, we can finally get into our number 10 spot. And in the number 10 spot, we have the Acarius Prime. The Acarius Prime, dual pistols that launch rockets that explode. They deal blast, they punch through walls, they deal damage without line of sight. Fulmination's gonna help you out a lot. The build is gonna help you out even more. This is an incredibly good weapon for clearing crowds. With Revenant, it's not the best weapon in the world against other enemies. Acolytes, it actually kills pretty fast, but get it on any other Warframe, especially Gauss and Gauss Prime if you possibly can, because an incredibly good feature with this weapon is whilst you're sprinting, you can reload 50% faster, and the bonus is 100% if you're using Gauss and Gauss Prime. So a really cool Warframe to pair this weapon with, his signature weapon. But we're gonna be moving on to the number 9 weapon. In the number 9 spot, we have the Lex Incarnon. The Lex Incarnon is, in my opinion, a miniature Archoplasmor. Now, it fires a wave of radiation that has punch through, which is very good, sort of like the Archoplasmor. Increased critical chance, critical multiplier, and status chance as well. 1.4 meters punch through is really decent. The Incarnate form, it runs out pretty fast, and especially if you're gonna increase the fire rate, it's gonna run out even faster, but the damage is incredibly good. It is gonna allow you to clear out enemies. Even with Revenant, you can see it's doing really good, keeping up, killing enemies and killing acolytes alike. Something like a secondary should be pull it out and then get rid of that pesky acolyte if you cannot use your abilities, for example. The Lex Incarnon is an all-round amazing weapon, and I would highly recommend you get this weapon when you possibly can. And now we're gonna move on to the number 8 spot. In our number 8 spot, we have the Epitaph and the Epitaph Prime. Now this weapon is here for a different purpose than killing. It is going to be a primer. Now if you're not familiar, primers are weapons that are gonna allow you to apply loads and loads of status effects on targets for condition overload on your melee weapons. Now with the build up on the screen, you're gonna be applying for guaranteed magnetic, blast, heat, and viral. You can switch out the viral for corrosive if you really want to, but secondary encumber is going to help you out a lot because it has a chance on elemental procs to proc another random element, and believe me, they can stack up because you can fire this weapon insanely fast. It doesn't have a typical reload because it actually doesn't have one. It has its whole entire magazine just filled up, and then when you waste it and you completely lose it, it's completely gone, but you're not gonna have any ammo issues. Nonetheless, in my opinion, this is the best primer in the game for quickness. I love the snappiness of the fire and then switching back to your melee. I just love it so much, and I highly recommend you get the base variant or even the prime variant if you possibly can. But now let's try to get the number 7 weapon. And in the number 7 spot, we have, in my opinion and my personal favorite secondary in the game, and it is going to be the dual Toxicist Incarnon. This weapon shreds through enemies. First of all, trying to get the Incarnon form can be a little bit tricky. You have one single shot, and then the fire rate of this weapon being incredibly slow on its base form. If you miss that headshot, your fire rate's going to be incredibly slow until you hit another headshot, and then you can fire a small little burst, and that little burst is going to allow you to instantly charge up your Incarnate form, and then you can start blasting away. Literally, this is the main build that I use, but I love using a secondary build on, for example, Warframes such as Zaku and or Wisp, and this is going to be the blast build. I'm going to leave this build up on screen as as well. The evolutions are pretty much the same, so I'm not going to include them here, but this weapon, as I said, is in my opinion one of the best, if not the best secondary in the game, sheer damage wise, output wise, fire rate wise, utility wise as well, and its adaptability to different enemy types. So I would highly recommend you get this one. But let's move on to our number 6 weapon. In our number 6 spot, we have the Atomos Incarnon. The Atomos, a beam weapon, an incredibly good beam weapon, especially with the build up on screen and the evolutions as well. The first form is incredibly good. You can charge up your Incarnon form incredibly easily, and surprisingly enough, the damage is incredibly good, even with Revenant without any buffs. But the Incarnon mode is so good. It turns this weapon into a semi-automatic grenade launcher that launches projectiles, of course grenades, that explode in a 7.9 meter radius, dealing impact and blast damage, of course with increased critical chance, multiplier, and status chance as well. Increasing your fire rate is going to be incredibly good, and it does have a pretty big damage fall off, considering it is going to be linear, so it's going to be dropping from 100 to 20 from the central impact, which is quite drastic, so if you can bring that up as well. But in general, this weapon for clearing out anything in Steel Path with any Warframe is so good. I love using this as a miniature grenade launcher, or sometimes even as my main weapon. This is sort of like a miniature Kuva Brahma without the smaller grenades, and even bigger damage, surprisingly enough. But the number 5 spot might surprise you as well, so let's move on to the number 5 spot. In the number 5 spot, we have the Furus Incarnon. The Furus Incarnon, base pistol that isn't that good, honestly, so we're not going to talk about the base form, but the Incarnon form is something that we want to talk about. The Atomos was a beam weapon as its base form, and here on Furus Incarnon, you get a beam mode in your alt fire or your Incarnon form that does heat damage primarily. This is incredibly good. This is sort of like a miniature Phantasma. You can chain enemies, a lot of them, sort of like with the Atomos as well. If you increase the beam's length with a Runes extension, that's going to be incredibly good. If you use the build and the evolutions up on screen, you're going to be doing insane and really good damage numbers. But I do have to mention Acolytes, considering the damage mitigation and also status elements not doing that much damage to Acolytes, this is not the best Acolyte killer, but crowd controlling, crowd killing entire rooms with this beam weapon is gonna be the way to go. And also, one of the coolest ways to go is our number 4th weapon. In the number 4 spot, we have one of the best, actually the best base weapon, the Occucore. The Occucore is surprisingly insane, especially with the build up on screen alongside, I do have to mention, Sentient Surge. Each target eliminated refills 20% of the Occucore's magazine. Status chance and critical chance are increased by 60% for each tendril active, and it has 4 tendrils, so you are gonna be doing really good damage numbers, and you're gonna be chaining, I do literally mean, a lot of enemies. You have a lot of radiation damage, 90% of your damage is radiation, so this is literally a miniature Phantasma, and you also do have 9% of puncture, which is gonna be pretty good. Honestly, the base stats in and of themselves are pretty good, that's why I'm gonna mention them. 16% critical chance, 1.8 times critical multiplier, and 24% status chance is really good. Slap on as much fire rate as you possibly can, even bring yourself Nautilus, for example, with reinforced bond, or just get reinforced bond, and you're gonna be doing loads and loads of damage. Now, again, Acolytes, yeah, not the best weapon against Acolytes, but it is somewhat useful. Maybe on a different Warframe, you will be able to eliminate those Acolytes with this weapon as well, possibly. But what's definitely gonna eliminate them is the number 3 weapon. In our number 3 spot, we have the Secondaries Prime Incarnon. Citrus, I always mispronounce this weapon's name, but this weapon, first of all, the base weapon is pretty decent. It's a one-shot pistol, or I guess semi-auto pistol. Yeah, stats-wise, also really good, but first of all, the Prime variant and the Incarnon form is gonna turn this weapon into an insane beast. First of all, charging up the Incarnon form, get a couple of headshots and then charge it up. It will give its bullets a ricochet that travel to nearby enemies within 6 meters of the main target, and those ricochets do have punch through. Keeping in mind, they can also hit headshots as well, which is really good, but not reliably. Now, the base damage critical chance and critical multiplier are increased alongside the status chance, and the reload speed is a little bit faster as well. This weapon, honestly, the ricocheting bullets are incredibly good at clearing out crowds. Like many of these weapons on this list of really fun and incredibly good mechanic to use, I would sort of compare it to the Piranha Prime, but this weapon is just that tad bit better. I guess we'll see when the Piranha Prime Incarnate comes out, but let's see what's gonna come up in the number 2 spot. And in our number 2 spot, we have the Kuva Nucor. This is technically the best primer in the game, considering it has one cool special feature and one special status effect only tied to this weapon. It is an invisible one, so you will apply it and you will not see the status effect up on screen. Status effect is called Microwave, and it will also increase the size of certain body parts. This is a beam weapon. I did go for magnetic. You can see the build up on screen right now. For the statuses, we have loads here. Again, we're using secondary encumber, which is going to increase the amount of status that we do already when we apply statuses, and you're going to be applying a lot. The beam goes up to 29 meters base, which is really good. It chains up to 2 nearby enemies within 9 meters, but don't worry about this. You're going to chain much more enemies, especially when you extend the range. This is the primer that you can apply the most amount of status effects on with, and this is going to be technically the best condition overload primer in the game. So it definitely has to be included, and it is really good to use with melee weapons as well. I guess the switching time is not that bad. But now we're gonna move on to some honorable mentions. In our honorable mentions, we have first of all the Grimoire. The Grimoire is not necessarily a damage dealing secondary, but you can buff something that you cannot buff with any other secondary, and that is your efficiency, your Warframe's duration, your Warframe's power strength as well, and that is gonna be incredibly good. This is just an insane utility weapon, and I would highly recommend you get this one as well. And considering I don't mention kit guns and also Zaws in my video, I do have to mention this one. It is the Spore Lacer. The Spore Lacer is just like the best one-shot acolyte killer in the game for secondaries. I love using this weapon. This is the build up on screen. These are the parts that I used for this kit gun, and I would highly recommend you get this one. Insanely good. Now, honestly, I don't have any more honorable mentions, and this is where I would like you guys to participate and put them in the comment section down below. And now, let's move on to the number 1 spot. In our number 1 spot, we have the OG Incarnate Latum. Of course, this weapon had to be on the list, and I placed the number 1 spot, I guess might as well. A really good secondary came out a long time ago. The base form does slash. It is a semi-auto pistol. The base form, not that good. I mean, you can do a lot of damage with it, but it's a semi-auto pistol. Who wants to do, click every single time? Why not charge up the Incarnate form and turn this into a full auto beast that has increased fire rate, reduced the recoil, which is going to be very good. It does impact now, and it doesn't do slash anymore, and it also does radiation in a 2-meter radius from the impact of the actual weapon. So this is technically an AoE weapon, meaning our build is going to have to adapt in that sort of way. So this is it up on screen alongside the evolutions as well. And one evolution that I do want to briefly mention is Evolution 5, Devouring Attrition. 50% chance to deal 2000% damage on non-critical hits. This is so good. Now, keep this in mind, it is multiplicative to base damage sources such as Horde and Strike, which is going to be very nice, but bosses do ignore this perk, so keep that in mind. Now, I'm not sure if acolytes are considered bosses. I guess you can leave that in the comment section down below as well, but this weapon doesn't really have a lot of trouble killing acolytes either, so I guess you're pretty much set to clear out Steel Path. Enjoy this secondary and enjoy your time. Highly recommend you get this one. I guess that's why it's on the list. And that has been the list. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, again, comment down below on what weapons I missed out, maybe some gems that I missed out. There probably is gonna be 1 or 2, but I guess we all make mistakes. And also, leaving a like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. Love every single one of you guys that does that, and appreciate you a lot. Almost 22k, we're getting close, and that has been it. I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been the Gamer Weasel, over and out.